Hello, welcome to Misinformed, the podcast for movie reviews. I'm Alex Siegel, notorious ladies' man and sire to the future generation of Supermen.
Hi, I'm Alex, water snail trainer and creator of slimy animal art.
Today we're reviewing Dr. Dolittle. Unfortunately, I didn't get a chance to see this movie. I had to drive my cat to group therapy.
Unfortunately, I didn't see it either because my pet snail started to talk to me. And after I recovered from shock, I spent the next 3 days looking for the perfect lettuce leaf.
Well, we'll push on with the review anyway. Can you please give me a synopsis?
Dr. John Dolittle, played by Robert Downey Jr., can talk to animals. And when his young queen, played by Jessie Buckley, falls gravely ill, Dolittle sets sail for a mythical island in search of a cure. The doctor is joined on his quest by a young, self-appointed apprentice, Dunkirk's Harry Collett, and a raucous coterie of animal friends, including an anxious gorilla by Rami Malek, an enthusiastic but bird-brained duck by Octavia Spencer, and a headstrong parrot by Emma Thompson.
I loved this movie. It was a nature documentary brought to life in the form of a scintillating adventure. There is more scientific information about animal behavior in this movie than a National Geographic special. Dr. Dolittle doesn't just talk to animals, he makes them reveal their inner selves. I now feel qualified to get a degree in zoology. What did you think?
The movie is nauseating. It tries to be serious and funny, witty and sarcastic and dramatic, and thus fails to emotionally capture viewers. Instead, tossing them around emotionally like a ride of spinning teacups.
My favorite line in this movie was, "The deck of this boat really needs to be swabbed." What was your favorite line?
We don't have a choice. So let's do the next idiotic thing. Forced by the hand of circumstance and poor script.
Well, let's get right into the plot. Of course, Dr. Dolittle can talk to more than just animals in this movie. He manages to have a deep conversation with a petunia, a patch of mold, and even a fossilized skull of a dinosaur. It was exciting.
And yet, the plot is thin as paper. The characters are shallow. But the fur, I tell you, the fur, it's so shiny. You want to touch it.
The fur was fantastic, but we'll maybe talk about that more when we can discuss the special effects. I was buying the realism in this movie until they fought a Game of Thrones dragon. And speaking of Game of Thrones, the incest was hard to ignore.
Ah, yes, I'm going to pass on that one and give you a little bit of the background of this. The original Dr. John Dolittle is a central character of a series of children's books by Hugh Lofting, and it was started in 1920, so it's quite a ways back. However, Dr. Dolittle first appeared in the author's illustrated letters to his children, written from the trenches during World War I, when the actual news, he later said, was either too horrible or too dull.
What did you think of the cast? Who was your favorite actor?
Well, by now you all know that I love Emma Thompson. And the role of trusted advisor and confidant is, of course, perfect for her. I think she would have worked better as a stately giraffe, though, instead of a squawking parrot.
Well, Antonio Banderas plays King Rasuli. Last year, though, he played Maestro in The Music of the Silence, which scored solid 0 on the tomato meter. That movie was described as the cinematic equivalent of Ambien, which I felt was unfair. Ambien is less painful.
What was the movie that scored 0?
Music of Silence.
Oh, a title like that, it must be a very boring movie.
Speaking of music, what did you think of the soundtrack?
Well, what the movie lacks in drama, the music tries to add, with an otherworldly and bombastic score that makes the score of Dances with Wolves by John Barry actually sound completely flat.
Well, did you notice that several of the songs were sung by a group of trained baboons instead of human singers? I mean, I appreciate the wildlife realism, but the result was not quite what I wanted.
Yeah, the parrots were only mildly better because, parrots don't really sing. They squawk and make all sorts of crazy sounds. I think if they'd used a choir of canaries, it might have been an improvement.
It might have been. The baboons tended to squeak and squawk a lot.
On the other hand, the coyote choir wasn't so bad.
That's true. It had a certain howlish wonder.
Now, on the other hand, I got a really big kick out of the bat quartet. I didn't hear anything, but apparently the sound was absolutely enticing.
Well, dogs could hear it at least.
Yes, they did.
What did you think of the production?
I think the realism went a bit far when Dr. Doolittle's clothing featured increasing amounts of clinging animal hair.
I noticed the many anachronisms. I didn't realize that the 18th century included a Starbucks coffee house.
You mean Starbucks wasn't around during Victorian times?
Well, maybe it was pronounced differently, although it did have the right logo.
I mean, yeah, I was just going to say, wait, coffee? Did they have coffee in the Victorian times?
Yes,
So maybe they had Starbucks.
maybe. What did you think of the special effects?
Well, special effects were okay. I mean, we talked about a fur, but one thing that I was going to ask you whether you noticed, some animals are really smart, and instead of using CGI, they actually got them to perform for real, like parrots and dolphins, of course. However, it was also funny that all the monkeys are CGI because they kept fighting on the set. And the ostrich is CGI because whenever it had the line, "Oh, I'm so scared," instead it would stick its head into whatever container was available, which usually was a bucket of paint.
Well, I didn't think the CGI was quite up to the Lion King standard. I mean, they were so bouncy and weightless, I was afraid they would fly off the screen.
But yet the fur, the shiny fur, didn't you feel like you wanted to just touch it? I mean, even if you're not into that thing, right?
I really wanted to wrap myself up in CGI fur. I wonder if it's virtually warm.
It's just so huggable.
Well, did you notice any product placements?
Well, there was always another opportunity for pooper scoopers and kitty litter and bear litter and parrot litter and you name it, animal litter.
I noticed the special diapers designed for giraffes, elephants, and gorillas. Those are some big diapers.
Well, they make those for horses because, horses do it wherever on the street.
Yes, but what about elephants?
They make them too for elephants. They do. I mean, they gotta be made of Kevlar considering the weight of what drops out.
What big twist at the end did you notice?
Well, it turns out that the magic cure turns out to be the bark of a willow tree at the end of the world, and the price for obtaining it from the gods is for Dr. Dolittle to give up his magic. This makes the journey home very complicated, and that's why the movie is 4 hours long, or at least it seems that long.
Well, of course, at the very end, it turns out that Dr. Dolittle is locked in a mental institution and is having a psychotic delusion the entire time.
Yeah, it's always sad when a movie ends up with it just was a dream ending, doesn't it?
But what did you expect? I mean, you saw the trailers, right?
I did. And there was definitely plenty of hints in the trailer.
Well, for me, at least, the moral of the story was clear. There's no point in talking to animals. They have nothing interesting to say.
Well, I just want to say that I cannot recommend this movie. Maybe go see a rerun of Flipper, or even better, Lassie. The first episodes in 1954 are in black and white, and they are just amazing compared to Dr. Dolittle.
Well, except that little Johnny keeps on falling down the well.
Well, that's better than Dr. Dolittle is stumbling over animals every 5 steps.
You're right. Well, this has been Misinformed, the podcast for movie reviews. Now we're going to go see the movie. Goodbye.